Oh no. Hey. So it was taking a long time to go live, and it was a seemingly insignificant amount of time. And for us sitting here, for Yetta, for Ken Decker, and for our amazing guest, Virginia Dawson from Sustainable Wellness Now, it seemed like a really long time. So long that I actually got distracted and started having a different conversation. Like, have you ever run into a thing where you're focused and then what really isn't a very long period of time, I mean, we're probably talking 20 seconds or less, all of a sudden it was enough to throw you off? Has that happened to you? Well, it happened to me today. So, Virginia, Sustainable Wellness Now is really about these little itsy bitsy, I call them itsy bitsy moments of movement, right? It's not the big stuff.
Yeah.
Well, because the little stuff becomes the big stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think about movement, and I think about, us talking about seemingly insignificant. So when I think about who is this for? This is for you if in my world, you think you have to go to the gym for hours on end to seemingly get some strength or to get fit or healthy or whatever it is. So perhaps for some people, they tend to think it's too much. I can't do that. And so they don't do anything. And yet research has proven that 20 to 30 minutes a day, it will make a huge difference in your body, in your strength, in how you hold yourself, in how you feel about yourself. And those just, if you don't have 30 minutes a day, break it into 10 minutes of moving. So this is for you. If that sounds like you.
And it isn't even, and I love what you just said, Virginia, and I'm going to highlight that. You don't even have to have a 30-minute chunk.
No.
Just start with a 5-minute chunk. And I found when I first began, well, I did exercise years ago, and then I lost track of it because, it's not so much fun. If you're somebody like me, maybe you don't overly love exercise. I always said the endorphins and the dopamine and all the great stuff that's supposed to happen doesn't happen for me. Not when it comes to exercise. So it's a discipline.
Do you just feel exhausted after exercise?
Yeah. Some days I even go have a nap.
That must be rough not to get that excitement.
Right. And some people do and some people don't. So I used to think that there was something wrong with me. And I know you might think there is, and I'm going to say there isn't. There is nothing wrong with me. And yet by figuring out to just commit to 5 minutes, what was incredible, that small chunk of time usually grew into 15 or 30 minutes anyway.
Absolutely. And what is exercise? What is movement? So where we may tend to think of it as I have to go to the gym or I have to run or, whatever it is. And maybe I don't like any of that. But Miss Yetta, you do love to have water balloons and have a water balloon fight. Is that not movement? Is that not exercise? So perhaps it is that changing our mindset of what is exercise? What do I love to do? What is going to make me move? Do I love to dance? Do I love to dance with children? Do I just get to be silly and have fun? If that's for you, then that is movement. That is exercise.
And then it does sound like it's next to nothing.
Yeah,
right?
I know I cannot run around the block. I am winded, I'm exhausted, but I can play soccer for 90 minutes.
What is that?
Chasing a ball. I'm like, I'm like that puppy dog that gets totally exhausted because they've been chasing and fetching and whatever. That's me. Distract the brain, and I enjoy the physicality of the running.
And the concept of being able to break it up. So that's where I was starting to go, Virginia, when you said, just do 3 times 10 minutes. I mean, different durations do different things for your heart and different body parts. So there is value in getting that elevated heart rate for a period of time. So that's still good to do. So we're not saying we want to totally avoid it, and yet we don't need that all the time. So being able to even remember, and this has been such a tiny nothing for me, and that is to remember to stand up while I'm working, even for 3 minutes, just to do, you know, a nice little stretch and take it right down to the end of the fingertips. And you think that's nothing. Take it to the bottom of your fingertips, but it's that last piece of the movement that totally changes everything. So it doesn't
Absolutely.
be big, it can be little.
Well, as a matter of fact, like at work, we've started like after lunch. It may not be right after lunch. It might be 2 o'clock or whatever. And pretty much everybody gets up, gets out of the office and goes for a walk for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just invigorating. You get back, your mind's clear, you can work better, your body feels better, everything moves better. Like move as in your tasks move better.
That's right. Yeah, those, and I would call that, and we have had this conversation about a pattern interrupt. So that just changes. So where our brain is so focused on something, and we're stuck potentially, we need that pattern interrupt to reset. It could be as simple as having a sticky note that says, breathe. And stopping to take 10 seconds to breathe in through your nose and fill that diaphragm and go deep, because we tend to breathe shallow. Go deep, hold that, and then just let it out slowly. Doing that for 10 seconds, a great pattern interrupt, seemingly insignificant with huge benefits.
I love your little Post-it note, and I'll give an example of just keeping a little feather close by, because I want to go fly. I want to go flit. I want to fly. And so when I see, well, even when I go see clients, I meet new clients so many days. The other day I was meeting one, and I was told later by Mrs. that Mr. thought maybe I was a bit of a loon. And I thought, what does that mean? And so we actually chatted about it. Loon, like a bird loon, but he meant like loony, a little bit loony. And just
he's very perceptive.
He is perceptive. And I didn't feel insulted, because the other comment I often get is, are you sure you're as old as you say you are? Mm-hmm. Because you kind of flit. You flit about. And that's such a little thing, and yet it's because I've now become lighter on my feet. I can still walk really heavy. And yet for decades, I believed that I was unflexible, unmovable. It was unenjoyable. So even the small task of shifting the belief system, and it's a big task, I guess, but it's a small shift to go from saying, I'm inflexible and I am a rigid object, even though human. And now I've been given the nickname Gazelle. Like, what is that?
You're fast.
And agile. Well, those would not have been in my vocabulary. So as we're chatting about this, what is it for you? What's that little teeny, seemingly nothing shift in even your belief system that will open you up to believe that you can move?
Well, you know what?
What?
One of my employees, or actually technically I'm employed by her, but
one of your team members.
One of my team members, she, at the beginning of COVID, just started like 15 minutes on a free program that ran for 30 days. You know, an introductory thing on some exercises. And at first she could hardly do them or couldn't do all the ones. And then later she graduated, she wanted to do some 30-minute exercises. And now, like a year later, after being very sedentary. Yeah. Being stuck. Well,
no movement.
Yeah, not being into exercise. After changing her belief, she shifted her belief now from doing that she is now more athletic and misses the exercise. So she's, going to get some eye surgery, and it's going to caused her not to be able to do the particular exercises she had been able to do for a few weeks while her eye heals. And she's actually dreading not the surgery, but dreading not being able to exercise for 2 weeks in the way she's used to.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing how the brain shifts, your belief shifts, and you crave what you maybe didn't like before.
Yes. And what will be interesting as she goes through that, so just as she had that kind of mindset shift, and then again, so when she can't exercise in the way she's used to or has learned to and enjoy, there will be a new way. That's the beauty of, it's endless, right? It is endless. And as we get to have these conversations, it's so important. I can't do this on my own. None of us can. We are so much better in community, and she will find a way. So even if it's moving her hands in a different way, that's not going to create that pressure on her eyes, right? Yes. And maybe it's moving her toes or her feet so that there's something new to learn. And that's what I find so exciting. And yet we get to do this together, to have these conversations. So like, oh yeah, maybe I should try something else. I don't like running, but I can chase that soccer ball, no problem.
Well, and I don't like running, but I can do fetch with water balloons. I don't like balls coming at me, so I don't like volleyball, and I don't like things where I feel like I'm going to be attacked, but somehow a water balloon, because it's just water and it's funny and whatever, and I get to cool down at the same time. That's fun. So look for again, we're going to keep using the word seemingly insignificant, because the seemingly insignificant is actually the significant because of the incremental growth. Yeah. It's an incremental building up on the thing. And even right now we're talking physical movement, and we've been focusing on that. And that, I'd love to hear your ideas. If you're watching this as a replay, then do #replay, share with others that just need to maybe look at the sense of physical movement from a different vantage point, that it doesn't have to be big or grand. I was talking with Virginia earlier today that at the beginning of doing eccentrics, which is something Virginia teaches and facilitates online and does private sessions and all that great stuff, we had to do a movement where we kind of picked up a blanket, just bent over and delivered it to the ground. And I was probably that far from the bottom of the ground for the first, probably that far for the first while. And if I had forced myself.
It's not even a real blanket.
It's
a
physical.
pretend blanket.
Pretend blanket. Yeah,
just the movement.
I have great emotional capacity to imagine.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And yet if I had forced my body to the point of pain and or as far as I could with that movement, I probably would have injured myself. Mm-hmm. And now months later, I was noticing in the last couple of weeks, it's effortless to go right down and actually get to put my hands on the ground. And so it's such a little thing to think all I did was bend. And I didn't worry about, am I bending further today than yesterday? Because there'll be days where I'm not as mobile or flexible again. And so it's just about the incremental increase. Mm-hmm. And move what you can move. That's an incredible belief and truth.
Yeah. And I think what happens is sometimes we push ourselves too far. So it's way better to do the seemingly insignificant than it is to do something that hurts us. Because you mentioned if you tried to do it, you would have hurt yourself or there would have been pain. Mm-hmm. And as soon as there's pain, the body will limit the motion. It will limit your flexibility because it wants to protect you from that pain. So it's that fine line between discomfort and pain, because for instance, if you from soccer, I recognize that if I get a cramp in my calf or something and it locks up, there's severe pain and my body stops moving. Like I'll go down on the ground. I cannot run anymore. Yeah. It just locks and there's pain. And it's trying to protect my muscles from tearing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the only way to release that is either wait for a long time or have somebody gently push my foot
Mhm.
so that it stretches, but not that it's enough to be painful, because as the pain increases, my muscle will actually contract and tighten more.
Yeah.
So it's stretched, not stressed.
Yes.
Right. Stretch, not stress. And Virginia will often say, what do you say to us every single day? Well, we only see you 3 times a week. That's enough. Thank you very much. On Virginia's Facebook Live, Moments of Movement, which is Wednesday mornings at 7:15 on her private Facebook group. So if you're not in her private world, you're going to want to connect with Virginia in her public world and then get an invite in
Yes.
her private world. And there we get to do that once a week, and then you can watch the replays. That's the really cool. You can watch replays and do it when you want to. Whenever
Yes.
you need that extra little guided stretch.
Yeah, and
movement.
so what I tell you, and this is what you had asked, is, going to that first point of discomfort. If you feel anything more than discomfort, you've gone beyond, and it is your body's, just as Ken said, our bodies are amazing, so amazing. And it's about becoming body aware, connecting that mind and the body part, and really just, is this painful for me, or is it just it's just a little uncomfortable right now? Okay, stop, back it up, go to that point, and eventually it's just little bit by little bit that we will continue to move. And I think about how home buying, right? Like it's the first thought, and then it's like, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step?
Yeah, and we'll talk about real estate on another day. You guys know how to reach us. You each know that if you want to connect with us around real estate, we will answer as many questions as possible. And of course, we've been providing a Life's Inside Track show for a decade. Can you imagine a decade? How much information is out there to be able to take a seemingly insignificant step of just learning something, and then you just start with maybe not buying a coffee, and instead putting it into your deposit account or your account to start to build your down payment. It's the little stuff that is the complete game changer for all of life. It's not that one big noble action. It's those little tiny actions over time. Consistency.
That's what it says right on the screen. The seemingly significant over time will create great results with consistency. Consistency trumps length of, what we call that? The time that you spend. So if you spend 40 minutes once a week or 10 minutes every day during the week, way more results from the 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, even if you use the same amount of time and you said 70 minutes, right? 70 minutes in one chunk, or 10 minutes in 7 chunks. The 10 minutes in 7 chunks will give you a way different result, way superior result.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about more, it's about less and frequency.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So if you have questions for Virginia, we want to make sure you can go find her. So Sustainable Wellness Now. And thank you, Virginia. I love how you expand the conversation and expand our bodies by little tiny movements and engagements. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's going to take a second.
So we love that you're with us, and join us any